Destroyer, the creator of all things awesome, the one, the only JT Molloy, who I broke with that little really, really, really lame introduction there. How you doing, buddy?
That's pretty dope, actually. The
Yeah, you
Dancing
like
Destroyer. I'm getting
yeah.
I'm getting a lot of new nicknames lately. I
Hey,
kind of like that one.
listen. So that came from, of all things, a Rocky movie, Rocky 4. Apollo Creed, right before he got annihilated by Drago.
Does they say that? Did they say that in there?
The
All
Dancing
right.
Destroyer is what they call him. It's one
That's
of those like.
I know it's sacrilegious for a lot of people, but that's the Rocky movie I watch least. So
Actually, that's fair. It is the purely 80s Rocky, is what that one is. It is the purely 80s action movie Rocky. The first two movies had a lot of heart. The third movie was okay. I'm not going to say it was great, but it was, it was an interesting look at what success can do to somebody.
Yeah.
And that fear of losing it. I thought that was interesting. But Rocky 4 is just really,
I almost feel like Rocky 3 is Batman Forever and Rocky 4 is Batman and Robin.
See, I think Rocky 5 is Batman and Robin.
Yeah, well, that's true. Okay. It's in terms of quality.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was a misstep. I think all the way around that was a misstep. Rocky Balboa is a great conclusion to the series, and that's I just pretend 5 doesn't happen. Right. Just I'm also a Highlander. The first movie, I'm a Highlander fan, and as far as I'm concerned, there is no other movie. There can be only one, and that's just the way I see it.
Nice.
Well, you might as well go with it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, might as well go with the terminology, because Lord knows, I mean, the less said about the other movies, the better. Yeah. So, but you are here, and I know you through Miss December, who has been pumping your stuff up. So.
Yeah, December's awesome. I'm so happy to have her on board with issue 3. That was kind of a no-brainer. So we've just run in the same circles for a while, and we met in person at C2E2 this year, and she only lives like a few miles from me, and we keep talking about hanging out, and we got to do that sometime, because we're both Mortal Kombat nerds, and we live by an arcade, and definitely
which Mortal Kombat?
All of them. For me, anyway.
Okay, for me, it's the first 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then it's the new reboots. I thought Mortal Kombat 4. I thought the Weapons one. I can't remember what the fuck that one's called. Right?
Yeah, there was. I mean, the Dark Ages were like, Deadly Alliance through MK vs. DC. Even though I had fun with those games, at the time, that's still in retrospect kind of like the dead era of Mortal Kombat.
Well, it wasn't really breaking new ground. I mean, there's some cool fighters in those games, but there wasn't really breaking any new ground. I mean, Mortal Kombat, in terms of a fighting game, in terms of the mechanics of a fighting game, Mortal Kombat was never really about that as much as it's about the storylines, the mythology, and just badass, cool characters. Right. Street Fighter, in my opinion, is a better fighting game.
Oh, for sure.
Right, it's a better one.
I play Street Fighter a lot too, so yeah.
Yeah, it's a better one because every fighter truly is different. Mm-hmm. Whereas Mortal Kombat, there's some basic things. I mean, the reboot does a better job of this. Like the newer stuff does a much better job of this. But the older games, I mean, Liu Kang, Johnny Cage have the same basic moveset.
Yeah,
right.
They do.
It just right. They
the
just
high
did.
punch, the uppercut. Yep.
Well, the uppercut was just cool shit. It's one thing that move was always cool because of just the way it sounded, and usually you get like some cool commentary, right? Every time you nail somebody with the uppercut.
I mean, those old games, like they're not very technical, but they still function well for what they are. You know what I mean? And yeah.
Like the first, like I said, the first 3 still are playable to this day. They really are. Mortal Kombat 2 is obnoxiously hard, right?
Yeah.
It's obnoxiously hard to get.
You can cheat the AI so easily in that game, though, too.
Yeah,
they can cheat you, but you can cheat them back.
Yeah, no, they cheat you hard. They cheat you really hard, right? But MK3 was busted. I remember the arcade when it first came out. I saw the first time ever that 100 hit combo from Sub-Zero. I was like, what the? Somebody fucked up there.
Oh yeah.
Somebody fucked up there.
Right.
And then the other option was Cabal, because Cabal with that dash could actually evade the combo, right?
Yep.
So you were either one or the other. And if you felt a little bit bold, you were Cyrax, because Cyrax was just fun. But that was it for the first, like 3 until they fixed it with the ultimate version. And
I have one of these actually.
let's see. Ooh, you have the classic.
Yeah, I've got the arcade 1-up of MK123.
Yeah, so it's a classic game. Like, it really, really is. I think, like, Mortal Kombat is the reason that Fighters War maintain relevancy. But yeah, from just a purely technical stuff, I still prefer a good Street Fighter game to a good Mortal Kombat game. That's just me.
I'm a bigger Mortal Kombat nerd, but nothing beats like a good Street Fighter match. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Once upon a time, I was good at that game. Now, I can no longer say I'm good, because I don't play it. You always have the know-how what you should do in those games. You always have that.
Yeah.
But you don't have the muscle memory anymore to pull it off on a frequent basis. And eventually, against anybody that knows what they're doing, they just eat you for lunch now, right? At least that's me. That's me, right? That's where I'm at. I can beat a new guy coming in. I can have some fun with and beat them down. But someone with some skill and some more practice, it's like, I'm not going to be a perfect victory, but I'm not winning that fight.
I would beat any of my friends except my friend Ken in Street Fighter, but against like an actual high level player, like no, I'd be destroyed.
Yeah. Once upon a time, I was high level. Once upon a time, I used to spar with the. So I was in Windsor, Ontario, and there was an arcade by us. We had Street Fighter Alpha 3. So one day this guy comes in, and he decides, he watches me. He goes, "Vega, huh?" Yeah, because he was my guy. So he kind of plays, I would say, half speed, good, but not unbeatable. I beat him. He grins,
nice.
right? He grins. Okay, let's play for real now. So she picks Ryu. Dude, that was the wildest fight of those were the wildest fights of my life, because I couldn't do it with Vega, so I switched to Ken. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I would spar with that dude. Like, he was better than me, but to be good enough, he was the Caribbean champion of Street Fighter, and he went to going to university. Like, he was the Caribbean champion, and he's a little out of his practice, but still just really good. And yeah, I could fight a championship level guy at one point. Now, now I can't. Awesome, yeah. Now I can't. I could fight a championship level guy, and it's just one of those things where, like, obviously when you practice something long enough, you're good, right? Mm-hmm. And that was just it. I just got really, really good at the game, and it was just like, once you figure it out, it's fun. It's a super lot of fun. My fighter in Street Fighter, though, so now it's Cammy. I just think she's super fun.
Mine in Street Fighter 5 is Cammy. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I haven't played 5 yet. I've played 4. 4 got a little
4 was really good.
Oh, 4 was amazing, but it was a little Shoto heavy. Like, just a lot of guys throwing fireballs. A little Shoto heavy. I think 4 was really good. Zangief has become a beast. I remember when he started, he was the joke. Like, he was just, you could smash him.
Yeah.
Now, he's like usually a top tier guy. It's like, what the hell? It's like, what the hell? But I mean, that's just playing the game long enough, and the fact that, I mean, people have gotten a little smarter how fighting works. And Street Fighter, to their credit, incorporates that a little bit into their game. So yeah. Seeing a jiu-jitsu Brazilian in 5, it's just like, oh, she's going for arm breakers and stuff like that. It's just like, this is way more sophisticated than back in my day.
5 is really good. It didn't start out really good, you know what I mean? Like, just from a content level, you know what I mean? There was not even a arcade mode when that first came out. It was like they had released like a beta of it basically as the real game, and it was garbage. But it had good mechanics from the start, and now they really kind of refined it, and there's something good there. And I've seen a lot of people complain that it was like oh, this is too noob friendly, too scrub friendly, and too flashy for like the E3s and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. There's like a small part of that is true, but at the same time, if that was entirely true, then all the same Daigo and all those guys wouldn't still be winning everything. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah. No, it totally is the case, right? No, it doesn't. I mean, again, those guys play those games. 5 is. I looked at 5. There was it reminded me of almost like the old Alpha system, is what it kind of reminded me of. They kind of went back to that. It's not a bad thing. The Alpha system was actually kind of, I thought, a really fun mechanic. But I look at the game and I look at the it's like it's a little simpler than 4 was, but that's not always a bad thing. A good fighting game doesn't need to be like Super Smash Brothers. As much as I think it's not really a fighting game-ish, right? It really is a fighting game, and it's a really simple one, and people love it. Sometimes I mean, yeah, if I'm a company, I want the Super Smash Brothers crowd to at least like our game sometimes, right? But yeah, that's just me. That's just me. So that so you should, and you should play Mortal Kombat, you know, and you should be like John, like my Mortal Kombat guy. Okay, so this was my douchey move. I was Johnny Cage. I give you the family stones as like to finish him, and then I give you the autograph.
That's pretty awesome.
Break the guy's balls literally, and then just here, have an autograph. I'm sorry. It was just.
I have I would have to dig for it a second, but I have a Daniel Pacina signed autograph, Johnny Cage, that says to Sapphire Spectre, my biggest fan.
Nice.
That's pretty awesome. Nice. Yeah, I actually kind of a little bit know that guy because he and his brother were in a movie my cousin wrote called Press Start, and that I did artwork for, that came out back in like 2007. It was like a video game parody movie, and they played like parody versions of their Mortal Kombat characters in it and stuff. So
that's fun.
Like the actors for Raiden, Johnny Cage, Sub-Zero, all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, no, it's cool because, okay, I'm going to be honest with the movies. The first Mortal Kombat movie back in the day was decent. The second one was terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
The new one was not good either. I didn't like it.
It's better than 2. Like the old one. It's leaps and miles better. I mean, my favorite actually from the like the shows kind of stuff. I love the Michael J. White, Jerry Ryan. I love that fact that they kind of went from the point of view of Jax and Sonya Blade entering the thing that opened it up. I thought it was a neat take on the mythology instead of coming at it from the mythology of it. It's still there. It's still part of the deal, but make it a little bit more from the Special Forces point of view. I thought that was an interesting choice.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I watched the recent cartoon movie. Oh, I haven't seen the sequel to the cartoon movie. I don't know. It was like the one where Joel McHale was Johnny Cage, you know, like the more recent cartoon movie. I don't know.
I'm not cool. I'm not cool, JT. I'm just not cool. I have no idea.
Cool is relative when talking about this stuff.
No. I mean, I'm not hip. I'm not into it. I know what I like, and I kind of stay in that world. You know what I mean? And this is where I'm at, and there's nothing else. You know, that's me. That's where I'm at, and that's kind of how I roll with that. I'm looking at, like I said, I'm finally probably going to finish Fairy Tail like the season right before on the DVDs right before the final season. Like I'm literally 3 years behind, and I'm very okay with
hey,
this.
I just watched Sherlock. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like you don't you just don't have time, right? Because you're creating your own shit, and you're like, okay, this is our own shit. So
that's definitely part of it.
Yeah. Well, and also just on a personal note, I prefer video games to actual television.
Yeah.
I actually have to
too. I just downloaded Elden Ring. We'll see how it goes.
Ooh.
Because I'm not even like a Souls guy or whatever, but I watched enough videos to know that, hey, I can probably hack this, so it might be fun.
So for me, I'm playing retro games. I'm playing Chrono Trigger.
Nice.
Yes. Good luck. Jack Trask says it's wishing you the best of luck in the video game.
Yay! Yay! Thank you.
Yes. Jag, this is JT. JT Jag. Nice to say hello. Right. And then there's okay. So for me, it's that. I'm a big fan of the Ninja Theory Devil May Cry. I just
Okay.
think that is a very fun take on that series. Just super fun. Oh, so hello.
Jet. I don't know.
Sorry.
Jet's pretty cool too, though.
So her boyfriend is Jet.
Oh, okay.
So okay, yeah, so that's why she's on autopilot. That's why. No, it's
Get it? Autopilot Jet.
yeah, not a pilot named Jet. Okay, that could be fun. But no, for me it's those and then Final Fantasy 6. So
yeah, that's one of those that's like a hole in my playing. I've beaten Chrono Trigger a bunch of times. I'm like Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 10, but I never played 3/6. I never actually did. I'll have to do that one of these days.
Well, Jag, it's a pun now. Deal with it.
I have I have this little like post-it note sized retro gaming machine called it was made by like Anbernick or something. I looked into this stuff and I put like every Atari 2600 all the way through PS1 game on it. So I've got like this tiny thing that I go to bed with sometimes and just play. It's literally every retro game like ever, like on this little machine.
I don't have time for that much. I like so let's go. Which way do I want to go? The machine or is the so we'll do the machine quickly and then we'll get to Final Fantasy 6. So back in my day, shut up, Claudes. Just shut up. Okay. Back in my day, I still remember the old cartridges you used to get illegally, like the 101s, the 40-in-1s, the from the NES, because the NES games are very small games. And some really cool ones. Like I'm still an old school Punch Out, Mike Tyson's Punch Out person. I can still beat that game. Mike Tyson though does occasionally kick my ass now. He's actually harder than I remember him to be. damn erratic pattern is in his movement. But all that said, no, like that's impressive. Like when you sit there and think about like when we were kids, that these were in like these single cartridges. Now they can all just fit in this one little machine. It's like, right? We're old, my friend. We're old.
Yeah. Like the entire Atari 2600 library is like the same file size as like one song, like an MP3 or whatever.
One MP3, all of the Atari. Which way? And depending on the Atari games, they're way more fun than possibly one song. Depending on the song.
That's true.
Yeah. So it depends. But going back to 6 is my first Final Fantasy game. I love 7. I love 8. I have not played 9. I want to play 9.
I love 9.
9 is from what everything I've said is seen as an old school Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
With a little bit of a modern fixings, and probably from what I've seen, I'm going to really enjoy it. It looks really fun. It was
a great one. Yeah. I played that my first year of college. This is going to date me, but between 2000 and 2001 was my first year of college. And that's probably part of the reason I failed out that year. Because I didn't do much but play that and get drunk and I don't know,
that's very college. What did you do? I wrote and got drunk. I was playing video games and got drunk, and it fully complete the trifecta, smoke a joint. I was doing 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah, right.
Right.
But, I graduated college. Like 4 years later. That was just a like almost like a trial year. But yeah. But that first year, whew.
No, I gotcha. No, I gotcha. No, I think it's a good game. I think it's a pretty sweet game. From what everybody's told me, but like I said, 8 grew on me a little bit. I don't like the draw mechanic, but you can do some insane shit with it. Like you really can. Like there's a lot. Like it's one of those mechanics that's deeper than it seems. Right, but it does take something from the gameplay a little bit.
I remember the over reliance on those summon spells. It was like, all right, it's just cast a summon and then go make a sandwich and come back, and by the time the animation is over with, you could probably sit down and have a meal,
That to me was 12. Final Fantasy 12 was that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, 12 was that. 12 was you could put the whole game on autopilot depending on where you were if you wanted to, and that sucked because that wasn't what I wanted in my Final Fantasy game, which was a shame because it's actually a really deep game. Like there's a lot of cool shit to do, but if you can just do it on autopilot, why play it? Like, hey, I can put this on auto. Click.
What scratched that Square Enix itch for me recently is not Triangle Strategy. It's the same company though. Octopath Traveler for Nintendo Switch. That was good. Like
I have been debating
if you're
about getting a
itching,
Switch.
yeah, if you're itching for that old, I think there's a PC version now too for Octopath Traveler. If you're really itching for like that old Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI kind of feeling, that's like a great game for that.
Yeah, well that's and now that we go like 6 was my love because it's also the like. Do you know what happens in 6?
I don't remember. I used to watch my friend play it all the time.
The villain wins halfway through the game. The villain, like that, I don't think that's actually really happened. Like Sephiroth has his moment of like triumph in a bad moment, but he doesn't actually win. You stop him from blowing up the world.
Right.
Kefka actually blows up the world.
Nice.
And it's halfway in the game. It's halfway in the game.
That's what. One of these days, I'll get to that. I don't know if it'll like hit me the way it will that somebody like 12 just experiencing it for the first time in like the mid 90s will, but it'll probably still be cool. I'll check it out.
It'll be fun. Make sure you do some of the extras in the game. Some of those extras are really fun to do. Right. It's not as long a game as some of the other ones are, so there is that. But for what it is, it's a lot of fun. Playing it with the new espers and stuff like that has been was added a little something. There's also a bonus dungeon that wasn't there before, which is like cool because at the end of the game he's too fucking easy. But I digress, right? I digress. What I no, like that game always, every once in a while I put it in. I put in about 30-40 hours probably every couple of years on it because it's just like it's a fun game. And I do like I am crotchety and old and shit, and I like some familiar comfort stuff.
Yeah, same. But I go back to Symphony of the Night once a year. I play Mega Man constantly, like 1 through 11, like some of the X games too, but like mostly the classic series.
I'm a big fan of Mega Man X1, 2, 3. I think they're silly fun.
X4 is probably my favorite. X5 onward, forget it. But 1, 2, 3, 4 are like amazing.
They're super fun. Like the thing is, Mega Man is like the ultimate like classic platformer, and the basic thing is it still works. Like a lot of these old games going back, the concepts are still sound today. It's just you have more tools to play with. It's just playing with those same feelings. Like I said, the difference between a game and a comic or a game and a book is interaction. That's the big difference. How a player interacts with the game is going to impact the experience with the stories in the games. So, but Mega Man pretty much nailed it down back in Nintendo days, what it was. We were going to fight this monster. We're going to beat this monster and get his power. Then we're going to become super invincible and shit, right?
Yep.
and then we're going to kick Dr. Wily's ass. That's
exactly.
That in that order.
All the way up through. Have you played Mega Man 11, the one that came out just like
11.
2 years ago? It's so good. It's ridiculously good. It like I don't know. It's just is it just a souped up version of everything that worked about the old ones, and it just feels like the old ones too, like the jump mechanics and shoot mechanics and everything. That it just feels great. It's just awesome.
It's amazing. Well, I mean, that's the other thing. Like Mario has been remade like 10,000 times too. It still works.
Yep.
Same with Zelda. Still works. Why is Mario fun? Because you're going to get a sillier version of Mega Man and Mario. That's the difference, right? Right. Instead of using flowers and mushrooms, and I'm going to ignore the fact that maybe the Mario Brothers games do have a lot of hidden drug messages on the inside. That's right. I'm going to ignore that for a second. It's a silly game. It's silly. It's fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. You can have a lot of fun with it. Whereas Mega Man, I felt like is like the steroided up version of a platformer. It's just like, yeah, but we're gonna go like at warp speed, and we're gonna give you some really cool monsters to fight and robots and all these evil baddies, and you're gonna smash them, and you're gonna get stronger, so you can fight even eviler baddies. It just was a very, it's just a very it's a cool game. It's like a
Right.
souped up.
You know what I always loved about the Mega Man series is that like they're known for being hard for like a lot of people, but really they gave you unlimited chances. You know what I mean? It's like back in the day, like there's unlimited continues in Mega Man, and you always start out with the same bosses you just defeated and everything. They never send you back to the beginning of the whole game in Mega Man. Whereas like Battletoads and Ninja Turtles and stuff like that, it was like, oh, you die 3 times, just try it all over again. And it's like, well, that's like really discouraging. Whereas in Mega Man, it's like you might lose the level, but you'll never lose the game. They encourage you to keep going and figure it out,
Well, it's not even like some games are just like hard, but like so there's an old Street Fighter 22.
Yeah.
That game is stupid hard. That game is stupid hard.
It's also like not even a Street Fighter game.
No, it's not really a Street Fighter game.
Yeah.
It's not really a Street Fighter game.
It was made by Capcom, but it's for some reason that title got thrown onto it.
Yeah. It makes no sense. That game's ridiculously hard. But it does feel good to play, if that makes sense. It feels okay to play. Ninja Turtles pissed me off because it didn't feel like what I wanted in my Ninja Turtles game. So especially because back in the day, the arcade game was so much more fun.
I know, right?
Yeah, so much more fun. And that felt like a Ninja Turtle game. You can choose your Ninja Turtle. You could smash shit, right? And you saw all the classic stuff you saw in the cartoon. Then you'd fight like these crazy monstrosities, right? And
I'm so stoked for Shredder's Revenge. Like that's finally going to be released, I think, this summer. There's no date on it, but yeah, I've been paying attention to that for a year now.
I'm going to be getting me Last Ronin, the final issue of Last Ronin. That excites me tremendous.
Yeah, I got to read. I read the first one. I got to keep going. Yeah.
I think that. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like the thing is like Turtles games when they're awesome, but the first one sucked. Battletoads is better than Turtles was. But so my favorite Battletoads game was Battletoads Double Dragon. That was my favorite. That was my favorite. Because it was like I got the best of all worlds. I love the old Double Dragon. Like I love the old Double Dragon game. It just feels very how do I feel? Like I used to be able to go and basically do it in one playthrough. Like I could do the whole thing in one playthrough. Also a game, although harder than it looks, right? Harder than it looks. It doesn't, again, I didn't feel so bad if I get discouraged and go all the way back to the end. I just didn't feel like that was terrible. Ninja Turtles just pissed me off just to the nth degree because it never did. So Jag, there's the original Ninja Turtles game was terrible. When they actually brought the arcade game, it just was. I'm sorry, it was. A lot of the pre-sequels were good. The Tournament Fighter was meh, like very meh. But
Manhattan Project was pretty good.
Yeah, man.
For not being Turtles in Time, Hyperstone Heist was pretty good for Sega Genesis too.
Yep.
And as far as Double Dragon goes, what's funny is like my memories of Double Dragon actually go back to the Sega Master System, which was like, most people talk about Nintendo when they talk about the 80s, but as a little kid, a lot of my relatives and me, I got Nintendo later, but I also had Sega Master System, and there was a Double Dragon for that, and it felt a little more like the arcade or something. I don't know.
Sega had some. Okay, Nintendo just had more games.
Yeah,
but Sega had some cool ones.
They did.
They had some cool ones.
I mean, Alex Kidd sucks compared to Mario, of course, but like, but still, some of the versions of games that were made for both actually kind of sometimes were better on Master System, like Ghostbusters, for instance. The Nintendo Ghostbusters was god awful, and the Master System one was actually you can like pick your car and all that stuff, and the graphics were so much better. Like, I don't know.
So, I think my favorite example. We talked about this earlier. Was Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat was way better on the Sega than it was on the.
Oh yeah,
way better. right?
I mean, it had blood and stuff, but like the Super Nintendo one had like the graphics and sound going for it, but the gameplay was terrible. Like the input lag was like, what even is this? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Also, because it was so neutered, for lack of a better term, or
Yeah,
homogenized.
right. I mean,
Fatalities.
they fixed that with 2, but like,
Oh
yeah,
no,
but
they
but the
realized they had
original,
to. They
yeah,
had to with two.
yep,
Because they had some serious competition with Street Fighter too. It's like, wait, if I'm going to play a homogenized fighter, I'm going to play the better one, right?
right,
Yeah, I'm going to play the better
exactly.
one, right? So they had to, like, two was sweet, again, cheesy, but like in terms of the AI, but sweet. Um, I think though, looking back on as we wax nostalgia for some of these old fun games, they were simple. I mean, Mega Man was just fun. He was easy to root for. The Turtles were fun and easy to root for, except for that first game with suck balls. Battletoads, very fun, old school classic. But again, for me, if I'm going to be honest, Battletoads Double Dragon was my jam for that, because it was like all the cool stuff from both games were in one thing, and they did that well.
Yep.
That's just me. I'm good if that's the uncool answer. And I think you can have hard games. I think you just they have to feel fun to play. Like, you know what I mean? They have to feel
Oh
fun
yeah.
to play. Like I still remember this from the Nintendo days. This game still gives me nightmares. I'm a Silver Surfer fan.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that game is so ridiculous. Like, so hard. No business being that hard.
Oh,
And
it makes me mad as like a comics fan too, that it's like Norrin Rad, like one of the most powerful like Marvel characters like in existence. Just a little fleck of something hits him. Boom, you're dead.
that's what, yeah, it was that was frustrating. I mean, Superman games are worse,
Oh
right?
yeah.
I mean, they're far worse, because Superman games should be Path of Neo with like Superman.
Right.
That's what it should be. Instead, we get, good God, like, I think the only game that's actually playable, I'm not gonna say good, but playable, is the Death and Return of Superman.
Yeah.
It's playable. Superman 64 is everything you can possibly ever heard and more.
Oh no. Oh,
Oh,
that game.
dude! I mean, I could see why nobody played that game. Like, you try it for about 5 minutes, it's like, what is this?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
what is this? Like seriously, that would actually be cruel and unusual punishment. Make a gamer have to beat that game. Good luck.
Oh, that would be terrible. I'd rather play Desert Bus than that.
Yes. So would I. Right? Oh God. No, there's some terrible, it's amazing. Like, some, like, I get it. You get paid money, they make a game. You're like, okay, think of the money. But every once in a while, you gotta look at some of those games. You're like, what were we thinking? What were they thinking? No one was thinking. That's what happened. It is what it is. It totally is.
So yeah, as far as this podcast goes, do you just like kind of BS about geek stuff, or I don't know? I was just
We could
curious.
ask about anything. Like,
Cool.
like, I've had conversations about glitter, PTSD, Magic the Gathering, dragons. It really depends on the person. Like, for you, I just gravitate to the fact that you're a gamer and just you show
Yep.
off some of your cool swag. So let's just talk old school video games.
Yeah.
We are going to talk about your book, because that is why you're here. But yeah, this is much more of, when December was on the podcast, we ended up talking old school WCW, because she's
Nice.
a big fan of old school WCW, right?
Oh,
So
for sure. And she's a wrestler herself. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So that's the thing, right? So it really depends on the guest. Now, and also, like, I figure if we talk about common interests, you'll get more comfortable. So when I really started asking you tough shit, you would like, why are you asking me this tough shit? And now you're not. It's Josh. He's just being himself, and then then it gets easier to do it. It's a secret.
No, that's cool, bro. Yeah, I'm just getting a feel for it, because I don't know. Sometimes you come on these things and it's like I gotta sit there and do the elevator pitch or something. So sometimes I actually like it when it's like this, like a whole lot better.
To be perfectly blunt, I think the elevator pitch. I mean, you should pitch your stuff at the end, like you absolutely should. But to be perfectly blunt, no one's here to buy my shit for an hour. No one.
Right.
No one's here for that.
I get sick of myself talking about it.
Well,
I love talking about geeky stuff. Like I went on somebody's podcast, I swear to God, for like a long time, just ended up talking about Star Trek and nonsense for like ever.
I actually did, like, there I two guys that wrote a book called Untitled Chapter. We just ended up talking Star Trek for 2 hours. We delved a little bit into Cthulhu and Star Wars a little bit, but I that was by design. I kept it Star Trek centric, but you know, we were goofing off because that's what we do. I mean, that's it's much better to promote yourself being yourself than it is to do just a rant. Don't get me wrong, and I'm talking as a guy that's creating advertising content for creatives, and even I'm going like, I don't want to give people like salesy shit very much. You have to give some because people want to know what they can support and buy. But JT Molloy, the human being, is going to draw more people than a sales pitch because that's going to feel authentic. And that in itself, and if I like you, I'm more likely to buy your shit. It's
I'm
really
interesting
simple.
as fuck.
That's right. Hey, listen, you're the dancing destroyer, my man. You're the dancing destroyer. That I'm expecting a Facebook post after this, like dancing destroyer. That's what I'm known as. Period.
I think the two things I geek out about hardest are Spiderman and punk rock. Like those are like the two things I know everything about. And like, you know, like all the space in my brain that should go to like adult things and, you know, like stuff you really should know and physics or whatever. No, it just got taken up by Spider-Man runs and bands.
It's an easier way to live, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm one of those insatiably curious guys. I look at things, I try to understand how they work. What I've learned. So one of my favorite quotes of all time is from Warren Ellis from Transmetropolitan, and that is this: "What we're doing is investigating." He's talking to his assistants, or like looking up this. It's from their trade paperback, The New Scum. Towards the end, it's like, what we're doing here is we're getting I'm running a miner, blah blah blah, data, and this is gonna work. Not because we have cool toys, not because we're cleverer than fuck, but because nobody does investigative journalism anymore. He's right.
Right.
No one really like most people are very satisfied looking at a newspaper and thinking that's the information out there. Honestly, that isn't true. Like most of the time that's a story, or especially since I've been doing ad copy a lot lately. Oh my God. Ad copy and the news are almost one and the same, and that's enough to make you drink right there.
Yeah.
That's enough to make you drink right there. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. Like once you see it, you just can't.
I hear you. Then you're like, anytime I see a story from anywhere about anything, it's not the story, it's a starting point. And then you got to find out, follow the money or follow this or follow that, and find out where the story really is under what that story was.
Well, it's basically, like I said, it's shortcutting. People think that that's how you be informed. No, you're informed when you look at statistics, when you look at government reports, when you look at all the shit that's readily available that no one bothers to look at. Like that'll actually tell you what's really going on if you want, or at the very least, it gives you a hypothesis that you can go by that may be a possibility. And most people don't care. And by the way, it's not entirely, I don't care about everything either. I mean, let's be honest, the world is bigger than me. And to be perfectly blunt, bullshitting you about Mortal Kombat and mastering moves from like Cammy and Street Fighter does rank as more important to me than some of the issues going on in today's world. Right, wrong, or indifferent. That's just the way I see it. All right. And it's true with everybody. We all do what we want to do at the end of the day. And that's cool. Like that's a big part of who we are, and we all need that to some extent. But what I've learned is, like, when you look at the quote unquote adult stuff, that shit's fucking depressing, right? Right?
Yeah. Dude, I was watching a bunch of stuff yesterday at my buddy's house. Like we ended up watching like the 90 Ninja Turtle movie, Starship Troopers, and then Netflix just kept going, so we watched like some stand-up comedy. And Mark Normand, who's hilarious, he was like, yeah, you know, these days, like the adults, he's like, we're having fun and the kids aren't. He's like, all my friends, they're like 42. They read comic books. They go to comic book conventions and all this stuff. And then the 19-year-olds are the ones that like, the world is depressing. We're all going to die. And we got to care about this, like this particular political issue and all that stuff. He's like, it's flipped. It's reversed.
Well, no, it's just well, here's the thing. As a culture, this is the honest like answer. We've been lied to and bullshitted so much. We just basically went like this. Hi. I don't give a shit no more.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm not here to debate whether this is real or not. But like when we hear climate change, which was a thing from a permanent, like the end of the ice caps, which goes back like to like the depletion of certain resources, and you've been hearing this stuff over and over again since when my parents were kids, right? You just after a while become numb to it, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah,
the war in Ukraine, the war in Somalia, the war in Iraq, the war in Iran, the war in Afghanistan, the war. There's a pattern over and over and over and over again. And once you've been around enough to see it, you almost just realize, like, you know what? And I'm not saying this like I'm people suffering, but this whole perception of what is doesn't really matter. Here's what matters. People are suffering. Something should be done about it. I don't think we're entirely sure what should be done about it because we got some crazy grandpas kind of running things, or up here we got just crazy. I don't know what to describe them here because they're not old per se, but they seem to be following the grandpas, and I'm not sure why. And once you realize these things, it's like I've seen all this stuff before.
Yeah, you see the patterns.
Yeah. Once you
I just turned 40 4 months ago, or whatever fucking month this is. Yeah, 4 months ago. I was born late in 81, December 81. So
October 81 for me, buddy. Hey.
Yeah, nice.
Hey,
and yeah, Pierre, woo.
Woohoo!
And it's like once you hit a certain age where you've seen regimes come and go and nothing changes. You know what I mean? And you like the stuff that you thought was the good guys might just be, less evil or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you just see the trends coming in and out, stuff comes and goes, people change their opinions, like, and stuff shifts, and you're just like, after you've seen enough of it shift, you go like, oh, all right, so I'm just caught in a cycle forever. You know what I mean?
That's it. That's it. Like a lot of like once you see it, it's easy to identify like the patterns once you see them, right? Everything's a pattern. Everything that we've been through in the last, I mean, even the crazy shit. Like, okay, we never went through the lockdown phase before, but some of the things that happened afterwards, they've happened before, all of them. So it's just like
Right.
Once you see that, it's like, okay, this is how this is. And then you're like, well, now why should I listen to this bullshit? Because this bullshit has been here before. I heard this before years ago.
Exactly. Nothing seems new anymore. You really just start to see that, like, just like the general flaws in humans, you know what I mean? Like that, and and how they act in big groups and stuff like that. And you're just like, oh, all right, this is going to be the human response to this and to that and to that. And I don't even argue with people anymore because it's like every argument's already been said. So,
well, really... I go one step. This is pretty much what I do. Is I look at stuff closely, kind of just see what actually is going on. And what I mean is I look at statistics. I look at government reports. I don't look at what the media says. I actually just read the fucking reports because that's going to paint me, if not a perfect picture, a clearer picture, right? Yeah. So I can actually make some of my own thoughts for myself. And then I make a conclusion. And then I make a choice about what I'm going to do about it, if I can do anything about it. And I live with it. Right. And then beyond that, if people want to talk to me about it, great. If people want to disagree with me, also great. I'm open for that because again, I have an extrapolation based on the information I have. That's it. I certainly don't have a perfect answer, but I'm going to look for my answers. The one thing I've learned in this world is this. No one's going to tell you what's going on unless you look for it yourself. And that's something I learned a long time ago. That's something I learned a long time ago.
I'm not terribly rigid in my beliefs either. Like they can change, you know what I mean? Like sure. if I'm presented with new information, or if I grow to see a different perspective, I'll allow myself to grow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
Too many people are kind of like obsessed with winning. I'd rather lose. I feel like losing an argument is actually winning if you're getting new information. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's just me. But like,
I don't know if I don't necessarily know if an argument's a win or a loss. I don't kind of like I
no,
don't look at
I
it
know,
quite.
but that's how people view it. You know what I mean? And like, I
have
would rather like enhance my perspective than like try and win. You know what I mean? Because I don't know.
well no see I came to this conclusion. I have no problem looking stupid. It's
Yeah.
happened to me
Oh,
many
that
times in this
for
life.
sure.
Many times in this life, it doesn't hurt my pride whatsoever to look stupid.
Yeah, I learned pretty, like in the last 10 years or something that like even if I'm at work or something and like there's a dumb question, I'll be the one to ask the dumb question because I'd rather not mess up later having
Mhm.
not asked the dumb question. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, totally. It's one of those things where I just realize this with people is we have this tendency. This is the thing, and this is something I like. The pandemic crystallizes for me a lot. Is that people have this ability to attach themselves to a very particular outcome, whether it's true or not. It's irrelevant.
Mhm.
They attach themselves to that outcome, or they attach themselves to this ideology or this dogma. And once they do that, it's no longer a discussion. I did an article for a magazine. Never saw publication, ironically, but I I had a pitch to compare Canada to 1930s Germany, some of the things that were going on up here. And I ended up having a good little discussion with a couple people with German descent coming from those eras. And we had some really good conversations about Germany then, Canada now, where the patterns are the same, where the patterns are different. It made my article stronger
Right.
because I had a perspective I didn't have. I was going by research and looking things up. And again, data isn't everything either. One thing is you can get a whole pile of data and come to a conclusion and still be wrong. It's good to have a human perspective to these numbers and this data. But I
Mhm.
actually talked to people that lived in Germany. I've talked to people who have German descent, and they pointed some really cool stuff out. I pointed some stuff back at them. They're like, okay, that's really cool. We each came out of it with a better understanding of that perspective.
Mhm.
And they're actually one of them in particular. She's going to me, most people wouldn't have done this the way you did this. It's like, in what way? It's like, we disagree. I mean, I still disagree with you. It's like, that's cool. I don't need to
Yeah.
be, but that's not the point. Like, we could disagree about everything about whether the sky, the sky is blue to, 1 + 1 is 2. We can do that. I truly am okay with that. If you got an argument that's valid, I'll listen to it. But
Right.
that's the point. I'm willing to listen. I'm open-minded enough to acknowledge to myself that I don't know everything. And my ego just took a shot saying that, just saying like, I don't know everything. But
Yeah.
yeah, crush. But at the same time, it opens me up. I'm not attached to any one conclusion. I have things I do believe. I have things I have a perspective on. And whether people agree with me or not, that's cool. Let's talk
Mhm.
about it. Don't put me in a box because I think certain things. There's nuance to everything. And that's the
Right.
one thing too, right? If those nuances are what add layers to any discussion. And just saying one thing is completely this, and if you don't believe that, you're this. That is very much that is a product of, I think, watching how people have divided over issues in the last 20 years. I
Mhm.
remember once upon a time we compromised. That was the thing. There's a lot more compromise back in our day, and when we were younger,
Yeah,
there was a little bit more compromise.
there was.
And when there was compromise, I mean, no one has to fully agree. We just gotta live with we have to all be willing to live with the outcome. And that's not what's happening anymore. What's happening is now we're going from one extreme to another extreme to another extreme to another extreme until you and I are reading comic books and bullshitting about Ninja Turtles.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what happens. So
I need to. Yeah. At some point, you just need to escape, and I don't know. That's why I'm doing a comic book about ghosts
yeah.
instead of a comic book about like the geopolitics of everything after 9/11. But
Yeah, drink. Let's drink. And like I said, and Canada's not immune to this either. England's not immune to this. Like the world has shifted in this. Like Jon Stewart said it best way back when I remember this. The first time I saw Ann Coulter on TV, I thought she was nuts, fucking nuts. But I think Stewart had a really great way to pretty much like pacify her, and it's the best argument for her. And it was this. Liberalism and conservatism is an old argument. It doesn't really exist anymore. The real argument today is moderation versus extremism. That's the real argument. For now, it seems extremism has won. It just doesn't matter where you go, how you do it.
Yep.
But I think Stewart was right. And what I hope and pray for when we get through the next few years is we find a little bit of that moderation and compromise again. But otherwise, this shit ain't going to work for much longer. I mean, that's where I think we're at. I could be wrong, but that's where I think we're at.
No, I hear you. Especially since this is funny too. It's like right now the left position, like when you see people talk on Twitter and stuff, I even saw like just people saying like, oh, why are you whining about gas prices? You know what I mean? And like stuff like that. It's like, oh, you're crying about gas prices, like, and stuff. And then like, but I saw Ann Coulter on Bill Maher back in 2008, or maybe even before. Yeah, no, it was 2008 because that was the last time the gas like spiked like crazy.
Yes.
And Chris Rock was on it. It was Bill Maher's show, and it was Chris Rock and Ann Coulter on. And Chris Rock was like, what is with the gas prices? And Ann Coulter is like, oh, shut up about the gas prices. Ooh, you're whining about the gas prices. And it's like, that was the conservative position then. And now it's the left position saying the same thing. And that's what I'm talking. When you get old enough to see the patterns shift from one to the other, and you're like, this is the same stuff that the other side said. Like, it just gets really weird. I don't know.
I'm okay. To me, I think the most frightening thing is when I watch CNN and I watch Fox. Fox seems like the more reasonable one. That's frightening because
that is really frightening. I don't like that.
No. That's right. No. It's frightening, but it's also true. I'm more likely to see a dissenting point of view on Fox than I am on CNN right now, and
it's true.
Terrifying.
But I also think it's like a Trojan horse, though. You know what I mean? Like, I can't.
Oh yeah, totally.
Take the people at Fox seriously, because once their people are back in power, then they'll start talking down.
Oh sure, no,
authoritative all over again. You know?
No. So you got a progressive extreme that you are going to do these things. You're going to think this way and do it this way, or you're fucked. Or you got the authoritative. You're going to do what the right thing for duty and country. If you don't do that, you're this. Like it's the same shit.
Yeah,
just it's the same shit. And it's like you look at this and you say to yourself, "What the fuck?" But it's hilarious to watch that turn. It's like right now, it's like I never thought I'd say this, but it's like I can. It ain't perfect. I wouldn't. There are things over there. I look at Fox. I go, but at the same time, it's like, wow, you're the less crazy one right now.
Yeah,
I need a drink. It's like
it doesn't feel good.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it really doesn't. Because I remember all the crazy Bill O'Reilly shit, and I'm like, what the fuck, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it just goes to show you that things do change. Like things do have their own little bit. There are moments of sanity, and from everybody at some point. And again, and if you think, and anyone listening to this, if you think like this is crazy, I said it, and I think I'm crazy, but I don't know if I can. Again, I tried to watch CNN once, and not too long ago, it was like they're all saying the exact same thing. That's not.
Yeah, it's weird. They've become pretty much just like a propaganda arm, which is really, it's kind of disturbing. But like,
no, it is.
Nobody's CNN Plus like tanked. Like, it was 10,000 subscribers, and they spent 300 million on it. You know, like that's
like. Wow. Well, no, but again, if you want to break, I've said this a few times on this show with other people when we get serious here. there is no credibility or competency in any leadership anywhere.
Right.
And this is what happens when this occurs, is if your leadership seems dumb, right, or they're lying to you on every level, sooner or later, no one's going to believe them. And then everybody that feels like serves those interests is going to get ignored. That's what happened with CNN Plus. That's what killed it.
Right.
It had no credibility.
They
so
lost
if it had no
the trust in people, you know. Like,
that's it. Like and we again, like we're old enough. Like we remember you're like me. You were old enough to remember back in our day that those things mattered more, right?
right.
Once upon a time. And then somewhere in the late 90s, it just completely, probably after 9/11, it went gone.
Yeah.
And it never came back. And now it's just like, it's like, which way does that pendulum go on a daily basis?
Right. Exactly.
And it's like, and that's why we drink, and that's why we play Ninja Turtles and we play video games, because we realize this is fluked. And we don't know, like it's gone off the rails, and we don't know how to fix it, because it just feels like it needs to spiral down to its inevitable oblivion. That's
yeah. I gotta stop. I gotta stop being plugged in for a while. You know what I mean? Like I watch my like independent news channels and stuff, like Breaking Points with Crystal and Sagar. That's like kind of where I get a lot of my news. And weirdos like Jimmy Dore and stuff like that. Like it's kind of where I gravitate towards. And like Substacks, like
where I get
Glenn
most
Greenwald,
of my stuff.
Matt Taibbi. I read Matt Taibbi's.
Matt Taibbi. I just put up something because everybody was talking about how Musk bought Twitter, but he wrote a really good article about Twitter's culture, and explained how this came about, and basically how you're trading one group of billionaires for another billionaire, and it's just like
exactly
that's what it is.
Right.
That's what it is. like that's literally what it is. It's the nature of the beast. Someone's gonna buy Twitter from Musk somewhere down the road and change it again.
Exactly.
That's the nature of the beast.
Yep.
It's the nature of media culture in the United States in 2022.
Yeah.
And now, once you understand that, it's like Twitter made this bet themselves, so now they have to lie in it. Now, all that said,
I agree with Matt Taibbi, mostly because like he recognizes that journalism used to be a down up venture, and it became an up down venture.
Well, he pointed out in that very article, it's very like it used to be that journalists would fight rail against the established status quo.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're protecting that same status quo now, and that's the big difference. So once you realize that, is like then what you have to do is every piece of news media you get, who's it serving? Mm-hmm. And that's a question that like no one asks when they're getting bombarded with all these news. Like how, like I think the biggest hypocrisy in the States right now, yes, what's happening in Ukraine is absolutely terrible, but right this minute the U.S. is bombing Somalia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Oh, and funding the Saudis to fight Yemen too.
Yeah. I don't think the United States is the moral high ground to say anything to Russia. Now,
no, I made a Simpsons meme that like had, when Homer's like, as far as Daddy's concerned, you're both potential murderers, but I replaced potential murderers with war criminals. And I put like a Russian flag and a U.S. flag on Lisa and Bart.
Oh no, like again, I mean, the Ukrainian people are the ones suffering here, but
absolutely,
that's the bottom line. But any country any country like doing what the U.S. is doing, I don't think it's the moral high ground to tell Russia, hey, you can't do that. Are you going to do that? Are you going to stop? Yeah. And if you're not going to stop, like, why are you saying anything? And I'm not saying that like in like this terrible, like I don't want them to. I do want them to stop bombing Ukraine. But if you're bombing another innocent population, right, and the only real difference is one's on television and one's not, doesn't change the fact that people are dying both ways, right?
Yeah,
doesn't change that. So it's like, it's just we have that hypocrisy in journalism today, right? If it's not on TV, it's not real. It's like that's a frightening thing. And that's, see, like I said, we go anywhere and everywhere in this podcast, my friend. We went from like silly shit to like,
I know, right?
the collapse of journalism, the collapse of any kind of integral journalism in the last like.
It's something I've been very interested in the past, like exceedingly so in the past decade, you know, because there was a time when I really did like toe the Democrat liberal line, and I slowly saw the cracks, you know, kind of start to fall apart as it went on into the later years of the Obama administration. And I was like, man, this is, you know what I mean? Like everybody still thinks this is like the good side, but they're doing the same stuff the last administration did. So like, am I on another planet? Like, am I supposed to not see this? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just got weird to me after a while. I still consider myself a leftist. I do. It's just that it gets harder all the time to like stand for one side, you know.
I am what I call myself a political atheist. I have zero faith in any government or any corporation, and anything that goes on their decrees is serving an interest.
Politically,
that may sound incredibly cynical, but that's where I'm at. I've just
I hear you. Yeah. Honestly, that kind of cynicism isn't unwarranted. You know?
No, it's not.
And like, maybe it's a generational thing or something. Because like, you know, we're both on that Gen X millennial line. You know, so it's like somewhere between caring and apathy. I
do care, but I also just realized, I just realized that we're not honest with ourselves. Like we're not really honest. If a government is lying about one thing, they're lying about other things, and that's what it comes right down to. So the question then comes, honestly, at that point, what is going on, and what do you serve? And that's why I go down my own little narrow path, because that's what happens. And again, I don't go down like the BitChute web. I like once upon a time, I was a conspiracy theorist once upon a time. But what I realized too is that too is a trap. That too is an abyss. That too is a. But what I took from that is that comes from that lack of faith in any established system that I've kept with me. The only difference now is I don't go to any of those sites. What I just do instead is like, okay, if I want to know, like I will go read a statistical report on case counts and stuff. I want to see if the vaccine, as I say, for example, if the vaccine's effective or not. I'll go to a country like England that has a very transparent like list of cases, incidents, and stuff. I will read that information and come to a conclusion based on that.
Right.
If I want to question what's going on with something like Ukraine, I'm going to look at instead of looking at the initial look of what's going on in the news, what I'm going to look at is what other conflicts are going on right now. Just because that's how I look at it. It's like, and you can find these on official channels.
Not only what other conflicts are going on now, but what got us to this point. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
You got to go back and you got to see, like, okay, so who warned us about NATO and when, and who called this, and you know all that stuff. And it's like it sounds like, and then you get called like a Putin apologist or something, which is like, no, that guy's a piece of shit, of course. But like at some point, you're like, okay, so my choices for the good guys here are like NATO and the U.S. Imperialism, the Azov Battalion, and Vladimir Putin or something. It's like I'm supposed to pick one or like level them out and see which one is less evil and more evil. It's I don't even want to like have my brain go down that aisle because it's just too depressing, you know.
No, it's sickening. It's actually sickening.
Yeah.
Right, but that's the thing, right? Like you come to a point with when you see things now, you don't trust anything on television. Nothing. Right? You just trust nothing because you just realize that it's a story. And going back to something I said earlier, it's ad copy. Right?
Yeah.
It's ad copy.
Right.
So
was that South Park thing where it's like, you know, he sits in the room with her and he's like, yeah, and he walks out and he's like, she's an ad, you know.
No, but I mean, if you look at what news media does, and then we will move on to something happier, is if you look at it, it gives you a message at the very beginning, and either you're going to be like, I agree with this, or I disagree with this. And then it tries to, and if you disagree with this, you leave, right? You disagree with this thinking, you just leave. And the people that stay, it does its persuasive little argument, right? It leads people across the bridge to think a certain way.
Yeah.
And once you see that news is a giant advertisement. It's a giant fucking commercial. And once you see that, it's like, so you're trying to get me to buy shit, right? An ideology, a way of doing things. And once you see that, you stop trusting. Like once you see how the magician pulls the rabbit out of the hat, you don't buy the magic anymore. And that's that's what's happened to me. Is I'm old enough to look and kind of understand that magic a little bit more.
And that's my problem with like I mean, as much as people talk about like how the neoliberal establishment is like ruining a lot of things, it's like if you get red pilled, quote unquote, and go to the other side, you know, and so you start watching Steven Crowder, you start watching Tucker Carlson, whatever. Once you start watching them, they'll say something you agree with, and then they're sneaking in stuff about immigration. They're sneaking in stuff about religion. They're sneaking in stuff about guns. They're sneaking stuff about, you know what I mean? It's like just hammering in those little conservative talking points to like
I think Tucker Carlson, like he's a good example. His stuff on homelessness is terrible.
Yeah,
like absolutely terrible.
He's the least horrible person at Fox, and he's still horrible.
Right, but his thing is on terrible. He has other things. He has other things that he says too. It's just like, what the fuck? But when it comes to exposing corporate power and how it works, like he's good. Like he's good at that shit. So it's like, but and that's the good thing, right? But again, you know, you're just taking a little bit of a poison pill when you watch him, because it's like, I also, on a personal note, I remember him back in the day when he was on Stewart, when Crossfire was Stewart, and Stewart destroyed him. I still remember that, and
and back then he was the opposite. He was all about the American empire, you know.
Yeah, no, like I said, I again, people do change, people do evolve, but also, I mean, it's just like once you see these things, you don't unsee these things. You just realize that. I remember the dude in the bow tie that got destroyed by Jon Stewart.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember that guy, right? And that's the same guy I'm listening to right now, right? Maybe he's gotten a little older, a little wiser, because we all do. But at the same time, I still remember that guy. And I thought that guy was horrible back then. How much has he really changed? And again, and that's just, again, that's nuance. But that is where we're at. News is a commercial. And that is the saddest truth of all. And it's not just true in the United States, it's true in Canada too. Right? It's true everywhere. Right? So the only difference is we get is we have a government that funds it directly. And that's where we're at. So
there's at least a middleman over here. It's getting shorter for sure, but
there's a lot less middlemen in your country than there used to be. I just think now they're just a tag team. There's one guy meets the other guy, and they're like, they haven't quite figured out how to merge them into one super being. Hey, I'm both corporate and government, and
like Jen Psaki's about to get her own show. You know, I mean, like they're starting to cut out the middleman.
They've been doing it for years. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, this was the depressing part of the show.
I know, right?
Well, no, just
I seldom like talking
I warned
about
you, like, we'll go anywhere, and I'm good with it.
Yeah, no, I seldom like talking about this stuff unless it's like my own living room or like, God forbid, a Facebook post once a month or something. But I mean, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm pretty politically homeless these days, and definitely a lot more aware of how easily the winds can blow and opinions can change and be attributed to a certain side when they used to be attributed to another side and stuff like that. So
I don't know. Like I said, like you've been around, you've seen some of the same shit. The only difference is this is what I've done now. Like I'm openly saying my opinions now out on social media, because I've gotten more popular.
I'd still just rather talk about Spider-Man, though. You know what I mean?
No. I got you. No.
9 times out of 10. Yeah.
Well, no, because Spider-Man's awesome. Which Spider-Man is your favorite, by the way?
What you mean, like? Out of like the actors?
You
I'm
got
like
a lot to choose from.
yeah, I'm a comic book fan. So my Spider-Man is the original Spider-Man, the guy from 1962, all the way up through now. You know, from the Stan Lee, Steve Ditko run all the way up through the Nick Spencer run. You know, like that's my guy.
I'm 50-50 on Nick Spencer.
I liked it a lot.
No, so he wrote a series for Image, that Morning Glories.
Mm,
I want to see him finish the damn thing
yeah,
because
gotcha.
I'm really really annoyed that he put 50 issues in and I still don't fucking know what's going on, and I'm annoyed at him. He's an interesting character personally. I know some things about him I probably shouldn't, but that's neither here nor there. You just do these interviews long enough, you learn things about people, and he's one of them. But I will
Yeah, I heard.
say, um, I will say that Peter Parker is like my favorite Peter Parker stuff was J.M. DeMatteis. I actually got to interview him for, and his Craven's Last Hunt is really cool. I think Peter David is like my soft spot. I think Peter David is the absolute master of
He's great.
Spider-Man's humor.
I
Like
love I love JM. Is that how you say it?
J.M.
DeMatteis?
DeMatteis. Yeah.
Gotcha. I've been reading that word forever and I never heard it said out loud.
Yeah.
Like
No,
his
most people
name.
don't.
But his name I love his stuff. The Spectacular Spider-Man runs that he did, like with Vermin and the Harry Green Goblin, and it's just like, yeah, the late 90s stuff with the Chameleon. Like I'm pretty sure he wrote Spider-Man Batman with Carnage and the
Yeah.
Joker, and that was amazing. Like I love his stuff like so much, and he's actually writing the Ben Reilly Clone Saga book right now, and I've only read the first 2 issues, but yeah, that's like definitely top tier Spider-Man writer for me. So I love that guy.
I like, so for me, he wrote Silver Surfer, and that's how I first got into him, and I started reading some of his non-Spider-Man stuff because Spider-Man, getting into Spider-Man after you've been in comics for a while becomes very daunting.
Yeah,
Marvel has this really bad habit of their really successful stuff. You have to buy it all, or you understand nothing.
yeah,
Right? And Spider-Man definitely was in that trap quite a few times. And don't get me wrong, Spider-Man books were really, really good. X-Men was also notoriously bad for it, maybe even worse for it than Spider-Man was. But it was like, I want to collect Spider-Man. So where do I start? And this was before, and it's like Spectacular, the regular run, the
yeah.
amazing run,
Right.
the Web of Run, the
Yeah,
Tales of One.
somebody just asked me, like my girlfriend's friend, like where to start in Spider-Man because she just loves like Andrew Garfield and stuff like that. So I'm like, where would I, you know what I mean? And like when she kind of wanted to learn about Gwen and stuff, and I'm like, well, I can't tell her to like go read the like Gwen stuff from back in the day because it's not like they were planning a saga that ends with her dying. You know what I mean? So I recommended Spider-Man Blue, Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, because that's like a pretty good distillation of that era told in a retrospective way. You know what I mean?
So for me, my guilty pleasure is Spider Gwen or Ghost Spider,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's a nice meta way of doing Spider-Man without actually doing Spider-Man. You get all the cool stuff, and it's simplified.
Mm-hmm.
The original Ultimate Spider-Man one, I feel the same way. You get all the cool stuff, but it's simplified, right? And that's the thing. Like I like trying to find those like gems of books that are, you just need to read that, and that's
Mm-hmm.
all you need, and you get a great story,
Right.
because that's when you'll get the love of the character. So like those are the two I usually go with. Is if you want people to get into Spider-Man, have an idea a bit of what the old era was like, even though it's got a modern sensibility to it, I give them Ultimate. If you want something that's a little different but still feels very Spider-Man, I give them Spider-Gwen.
Right.
Right? And that's me. And the thing is, Spider-Gwen has a finite run. Ultimate kind of has a finite run, although it's a much longer run.
Yeah.
So
I liked Ultimate a little when it first kind of got off the ground. Not the first story. I hated the first story. It took too long to get him in the costume. The Green Goblin was terrible. He was just abomination, but through fireballs. And then there was like this sweet spot right after that first arc when like he first meets Doc Ock and Electro and the Kingpin and all that stuff.
I
So like
know.
somewhere between like issue like 9 or whatever and like 20 something, it was great. And then it just got too full of itself, and like the Venom saga went nowhere, and then there was all this. It's almost, they felt like they had to like subvert expectations to not be like the 616 universe, but all that did was kind of just muddy everything, you know.
I'm of two minds of that. So for me, I agree with you that the Kingpin story, my personal favorite of the Ultimate Spider-Man is the Kingpin story. The first time he meets the Kingpin.
Yeah.
That is as Spider-Man as you'll get. That is probably Bendis's best story on Ultimate Spider-Man by a shot, because it's everything. It like the Kingpin was perfect for that particular issue because it was everything. He's everything Spider-Man's not.
Right.
And that's what makes him such a compelling character. Is he's rich. He does things not because he's responsible, because he's irresponsible. He does things for cruelty and pleasure, not because it's the right thing, but because it's his thing. Everything's about him. And Spider-Man is the opposite. He's doing it for everybody else. And the first time he fights the Kingpin is when he gets his ass handed to him, and just gets his ass handed to him. And it was one of the most profound life lessons for Peter Parker ever.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. And when they fight again, Peter's ready for him and kicks his ass, and it felt so good. It was such a great arc. I enjoyed it when I enjoyed that version of Gwen Stacy. I think it was fun. That was a fun take on her. I'm 50-50. You have to at some point differentiate Spider-Man character books a little bit, because if you don't, it's a if you don't, then it's like, why am I reading this? And at least he had a plan where he was going. It's okay to subvert expectations if you know where you're going with them.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know where you're going with them, then no, you shouldn't subvert expectations. But there was a point when Ultimate Peter Parker became his own thing, and 616 Peter Parker was also his own thing, right?
Yeah, I just prefer classic Spider-Man.
No, it's fair. No,
just like,
dude,
the look of the villains, like everything, you know what I mean? Like it's still going on to this day, you know what I mean? Like whether that's good or bad, like, you know, because I mean, it's the age-old comic book debate whether characters should grow and change or whether they should have a status quo that, like, you know, serialized adventure does. I fall somewhere in the middle. Like, I don't really care which one it is as long as it's just good. But like, Spider-Man to me is the 616 guy, and all the rest of the iterations that started with Ultimate Spider-Man are just kind of like knockoffs, you know?
that's fair.
I don't know.
That's fair.
Like,
I'm of the mindset that Spider-Man actually could evolve. I think I think him as a dad would be really interesting.
at this point, they might as well, you know?
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying him as a dad is actually an interesting thing, because it's a very meta question.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a kid to raise, so he's got to be responsible for that. And so how can he be Spider-Man? And the idea of him being a part-time hero and a full-time dad, right? Especially if it's Mayday Parker, that would be my secret hope on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Just like him, gets in all kinds of trouble, has all his abilities.
Yeah, and
right?
I read Spider-Girl for a good long time too.
Yeah, because it's a great run, right? It's a fantastic run, and I thought that was a really good take. Like, the idea is you can actually shift Peter out of the story and replace it with his daughter, and if you do it in the right way, the fans won't shit on it. They'll They'll go with it because he's still in the book. He's not. And you just quietly just change it over. Go from Spider-Man to Spider-Girl. Hit a milestone. Tell the last story you want to tell with Peter Parker as Spider-Man. And then you just switch it to her. I don't think and if you build it just right, I think the audience sticks along for the ride. Right? Sticks along for the ride. And I think it's a really I think you could do that with Spider-Man. I don't know if you can do that with every hero. but you could do it with Spider-Man. You might also be
Right.
like, and you can do it with Superman too, but you can't. But right, some characters you can't do it with. Like Batman can't be Batman if he's happy. He just can't.
Yeah. No. Right.
He just can't. Right. So the moment you make Batman happy, you end the story. The moment you Peter can still grow and still change his role, right? And then maybe get to the point where he's a little older. Yeah, you can still do all the stuff he did when he was younger, but it hurts a little bit more. Fuck, I'm old, right?
Yeah. I mean, like keeping him at his like 20-something status quo versus making him grow and change like that. That's an age-old debate that goes back to the very first run between, like Ditko and Lee, because like by the end of the Ditko run, he had gone to college,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you can't say that they weren't progressing him even back then. And once he became like a popular commodity, it's not they had to kind of throw the brakes on, but he still did throughout the years age a bit, you know what I mean? And like eventually Harry and Liz got married and had little Normie Osborn and all this stuff, you know what I mean? And then like Peter got married and then they decided, hey, we got to break this up, and so they tried the Clone Saga and that didn't work. Then they blew up Mary Jane in an airplane, that didn't work. And then they did the One More Day thing,
which is
and all that stuff.
Which is almost as bad as the Clone Saga. Almost.
Saga was I actually like Brand New Day onward. I'm like a huge Dan Slott fan.
Dan Slott is very underrated as a writer. Like he really is, because another guy that wrote Silver Surfer as well, and I really enjoyed his turning Silver Surfer into Doctor Who was super fun.
Yeah.
super fun. That was a great little, that run is fantastic. Like Dan Slott's Silver Surfer run is one of my favorite, like it's one of my favorite Silver Surfer runs.
Yeah, when Slott handles a Marvel character, it really feels like a Marvel character, like the way that like it should. I don't know. That's
well, okay, so this is my take on Marvel. Sometimes the writers stick around too long. I felt Slott overstayed his welcome a little bit on Spider-Man. They should have let him walk about maybe 20 issues sooner than they let him.
Yeah.
Right. I kind of feel in the last 20, he was like, yes, I love Spider-Man. Meanwhile, Marvel's holding like a gun to his like family or something. It's like, write these issues or don't let you live. Like, right. I kind of felt like he didn't want to be there after a certain point anymore, but obviously they wanted him there for whatever reason. And he's like, okay, it's a hit. I'll do it. Yeah. And I felt like the latter until he got to like this last arc, and then it was really strong again. Like this last arc was fun, but
the Red Goblin was so good. I loved it.
Yeah, it was a good way to walk away. And I feel like, but I felt like there was like a gap. And I can't remember who did this off the top of my head. The guy that wrote Thor as a woman. I can't remember his name.
Who did that? I can't remember.
Yeah, he did the same thing. Jason. Oh, come on. Jason Aaron. There he is. Aaron. It was Aaron, and had a great run until but he stayed about 8 issues too long. I got the feeling it's like, hey, we need you to stay around longer. Can you write more Malekith? And I'm like, fuck. But that last arc was so good. Like the last arc was so good, and it was it's one of those situations where you realize like Dan Slott loves his characters. So do a lot of the guys that like I think the one thing I do appreciate with Marvel more is there's more of an attempt to let a creative team have a long run with a character to put their distinct little voice in there. I actually think that's really smart. I think so. Now, sometimes they overstay their welcome a little bit, but you got a really cool story start to end with those creatives. And I think that's really cool. DC doesn't always do that, and it hurts.
Yeah,
you can tell. You can totally tell when that happens, and it's just like,
yeah, they pull the plug pretty early sometimes. Like I remember the literally the only thing I liked in the New 52 was Gail Simone's Batgirl, and they just like messed with her so bad, and I was like, why are you doing this? Like this is the one good book. I don't know.
I actually enjoyed Azarella's Wonder Woman. Like that.
Oh yeah.
I enjoyed it. It was him and Chang had a really good fun. God, I wish they had stayed longer. Holy shit, did I wish they stayed longer. Because once their run was done, oh, that book was terrible.
Yeah.
For about, oh God, it was terrible.
Snyder's Batman was okay, but I feel like he believed his own hype like pretty fast.
But okay.
It was almost like the chances he was taking were like so. I don't know. It almost felt like trying to be iconic so hard that it actually kind of like tripped over itself. Like death of the family. Like I read that and I'm like, the first half of it was really cool, and the second half I was like, this just kind of went nowhere.
Death of the Family went nowhere. Corvallis is his best story in that.
It was good. It really was good.
He got. See, that boy's an anime fan. You want to know why? Giant robots.
Yeah,
a lot.
They were.
Yeah,
just Jim Gordon was in that rabbit suit or whatever that's supposed to be.
So I thought the ballsiest thing he did was actually make Jim Gordon Batman for a very short period of time. I thought that was the ballsiest thing he did. I'm 50-50 on Snyder. So here's the thing. Those first 12 issues are really good. Like really, really good. I don't think anyone will argue with that. And it was a runaway success. It wasn't just a success. It was a runaway success. To such a point that we're getting wonderful things like Death Metal and The Batman Who Laughs, which made me really sad when I saw him. Really, really, really sad. Right. I think DC kind of went off the rails right before the pandemic in terms of, hey, this is what people want. It's like, no, I really don't want a Batman that's the Joker. Batman as the villain is interesting, but a Jokerized Batman just kind of feels lame. Anyways.
My favorite Batman writer in the past couple of years was James Tynion.
Tynion is really good
because really even before he became a superstar on Batman, I really loved his detective run in like the Rebirth era. And I kind of discovered it by accident because I was asking people like, man, I really miss Spoiler and Tim Drake. Like those are two of my favorite characters ever. You know, I really love Chuck Dixon's Batman and everything about like the late 90s to the 2000s Batman, you know what I mean? And I really miss Stephanie and I really miss Tim as they were supposed to have been written, and he restored them, you know, like in that detective run.
I really dug the Red Robin series for Tim Drake. I thought that book was damn good and was cut short.
It was
it was cut way too short. There was so much meat on that bone. And
that was great. It was like Tim took down the whole racial league of assassins like by himself.
Well, no, what I really enjoyed about that run was it showed how Tim was just like Bruce and how different he was from Bruce. He wasn't as tough as Bruce, but he was smarter. And that was interesting. And I thought and I enjoyed that I love the one gang leader. The one gang leader that was kind of like his Catwoman. So that was an interesting little thing they were playing with there. And they were playing with all kinds of things with him that were really, really interesting. And they were making him kind of like he's literally the heir to Batman. Now, Damian is an interesting Robin. I do like Damian as Robin, honestly. But Drake as the heir apparent to become Batman was a really interesting idea. And Red Robin showed you what he could have been. And that was that book. Right. And that book was damn good. Like it was like easily the best thing DC was doing at that time for a long time. It was like almost buy on site and both not just Fabian's run, but even the guy previous, the first 12 issues of building that up was super good. And yeah, it was just fun. But looking at, if you're looking at my favorite Batman era, it's still the mid 80s to but right before Rucka took over. That whole creative team, Alan Grant, Norm Bercorio, Danny O'Neill, like that stuff is the shit. It still is the best Batman stuff.
Totally.
By a mile. You know, so I look at that, and again, this isn't just me being an old fart. There's some good new stuff. Like Tynion is really good. I think Tynion's an underrated book of his is Talon. His Talon series from BC was his first actual series. Is really good.
Nice.
Right, is really good. But I think like Tynion might be one of probably the best writer in comics right now. I'm a big sucker for Tom Taylor. I really enjoyed his X-23 as Wolverine run, and I enjoyed his X-Men Red. In a time when X-Men by and large sucked, he made them good.
My final X-Men story that I just loved so much that I said, all right, I think I'm done, is back in like 2008 or 9 when Christopher Yost, I think, wrote it, and it was the Psylocke miniseries.
Okay, yeah. Yost wrote Red Robin. Yost was the writer on Red Robin the first year.
Yeah, that's right. He was. I
Yeah.
love Chris Yost. He's just so good. But like that Psylocke miniseries, Kill Matsuo, that was like I love Psylocke, and at that point in time, the X-Men had just like, it was something I was just grown out of. I was like, I think I'm just not into this anymore. And then I read that, and I was like, this is so good, and felt like such a closure to like a lot of the stories I grew up reading that I felt like I could just kind of stop, you know. So I have not touched the X-Men since, you know.
So I'm a Green Lantern guy. Like that's my franchise, right? That is my franchise. Right now, it's in a weird place. I kind of like it, and I kind of don't. I always thought that John Stewart was the money in that franchise. I thought, okay, young me thought Kyle was cool because that's what I grew up with. But I admired how, because I have some of the old Silver Age stuff. Like I have Sinestro's first appearance. I have some like the really, really cool shit. But Hal's bland. Like he's bland. He's fun. He is a pulpy character just before characters got a little bit more three-dimensional in here.
Yeah, right.
He was just before that era. So he's not as interesting as Kyle or Guy or John, but I think of the three of those, John's the money. Right? And so they're doing it kind of, but they're Green Lanterns without power rings. So it's like, right? And that's where I'm at. It's like,
Yeah.
It's cool science fiction. It's a cool science fiction story, but I don't know if it's a good Green Lantern story. And I'm not quite sure what I heard. But then again, the year prior, I got Far Sector by N.K. Jemisin, and I had the Green Lantern run with Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp. So it's not like I suffered terribly with Green Lantern in the last few years. It's just, you know.
I gotcha. I feel you. I've been a pretty happy Spider-Man fan since Brand New Day, because there was a I quit for a little bit during the Sins Past arc. I really hated JMS's run, and like I don't care that like, you know, people are, oh man, it was editorial. I'm like, whatever, you still put this out, and this was like disgusting. And like into like The Other and Civil War, where he like grew wrist spikes and stabbed somebody. It was so ridiculous and stupid. And then One More Day happened, and I'm like, all right, everybody's gonna jump off, but I'm gonna jump back on, because he's gonna be Spider-Man again. I don't care if he's married or not. I want Spider-Man. I want the real Spider-Man.
So I enjoyed JMS's run up until about Civil War. Then he should have left. I thought they took away what made. I enjoyed that they kind of did something. He did something different with Peter, like with Morlock, and Happy Birthday is one of my all-time favorite Spider-Man stories. I thought it was
half decent.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one. That's one of my favorite Spider-Man stories, because it's I really enjoy that little bit of not only the actual birthday present, which I thought was really cool, but I thought it was a really cool examination of where Spider-Man had been. And I thought like that was probably JMS's best story in that whole run, probably. So I like that. I really enjoyed that. It actually, that last 3 or 4 pages actually gave me a little bit of a tears. Like, that is a cool moment. Yeah. And he deserved that. He actually deserved that. It's like, I mean, Dr. Sennett, you got 5 minutes. Make it count. 5 minutes. And then he sees, and it's like, that is so cool that they did that. That is so cool that they did that. And that's the thing. Like, I enjoyed that part of it. I jumped off of Brand New Day a little bit because also I was done. Like, again, to be fair, this is where I do agree with you. I think once his identity was out, they had nowhere to go with him. They
Mhm.
legitimately had nowhere to go with him. It wasn't Married Life Spider-Man. There's lots you could still do with him, but Spider-Man and Peter Parker, like, is it responsible for him to be Spider-Man anymore? Is it like, I don't know. Like, it hit a certain wall, and once it hit that wall, it was over,
Yeah.
right? It was just over, and there's nowhere you can go with that, you
Yeah, I
know?
was just kind of from around that era. I was just kind of watching from the shadows and waiting for that to be over.
Well, no, it's okay. No, dude, we all like what we like, right?
Mhm.
So we all like what we like. I was gonna ask you what your favorite Spider-Man story was, and I mean, because you've had so many you've read, so.
I've read
uh,
pretty much all of them.
But yeah, exactly. So what's your favorite one?
Oh man, I don't even know if I have one. It's
You
just
have a
there's just
couple.
so many. There's so many competing for first place. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, obviously, like the old Ditko stuff is just like that. That nobody ever in comics distilled how much of the blueprint is in a character than Steve Ditko's Spider-Man.
Mhm.
Like, if you just buy that like essential, you know what I mean, with like the first 20 in it, almost all his like classic rogues are in it, and
Yep.
like a heck of a lot of his classic, you know, like character, you know what I mean, like all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
With Batman, it's like spread out through decades sometimes, you know what I mean? Like when
Yep.
you look at Detective 27, like, you know, and all that stuff, it's like Alfred looked different, and there was no Batmobile yet, and like, you know, and there wasn't a Robin yet, there was no Joker yet, like all this stuff, and like it took a long time for those things to be added. With Spider-Man, so much of what we think of as Spider-Man is in the earliest stuff. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like he's one of the few characters that got it so right outside the gate that like um it's sometimes it's hard to make a case for anything other than Stan and Steve's tenure on him. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
I don't know. But like as far as just pure enjoyment goes and like our generation and all that stuff, it's like I still love like the Michelini, uh McFarlane, then Larson, then Bagley periods, you know, like pre-Clone Saga Spider-Man, like that's the pop culture one that everybody grew up with in the late 80s and early 90s. That kind of like um I don't know, I feel like that brought a lot of people into Spider-Man like our age range, you know what I mean? That like and a little older actually.
I really dig McFarlane's Venom story, because Venom was
Mm-hmm.
scary. Venom was
Yeah,
legitimately scary in that.
I love all the Venom and Carnage stuff, like from like the first Venom story to the first Carnage story was just amazing. You know, like everything in
Yeah,
between. Like,
Maximum Carnage sucked. I'm
yeah,
sorry. It did. It did.
I like it, but and I know it's a mess. You know
No,
what I
no,
mean?
no,
It's
no, no. See, it's like we were talking about earlier with Rocky 4. It's a terrible movie, but the people
Mhm.
that like it, it's 80s like
Exactly.
cheese. It's
Yep.
Maximum Carnage is 90s cheese. All of
I
the 90s
I
cheese.
like it, but I would never defend it.
Yeah, and that's okay. We all have our guilty pleasures. Here's mine. I'll give you my guilty pleasure. This is mine. The Matrix, the sequels.
Yeah.
I'm not going to defend them. Actually, I will defend Reloaded a little bit. It did what it was supposed to do. It did what it was supposed to do. Like, is it great? No. Is it gratuitous? Absolutely. But right, but it did what it was supposed to do. Matrix Revolutions. Okay, I can't defend that movie at all, but I still enjoy it. I
Yeah.
can own the fact that it's a terrible movie I enjoy, and I'm okay with that. I haven't seen the new one. I'm 50-50 on it. I wish Hugo Weaving had been Smith. I think that would like the fact that he wasn't there kind of made me go sad. Like made me
Mhm.
kind of sad. Um, but I might see it. I might see it in a few days, weeks, months, and say, like, again, I'm not cool. I'll eventually get to this stuff. But yeah, but Matrix Revolutions, Matrix Reloaded are entirely guilty pleasures. I cannot defend them.
I gotcha. Yep.
But
I
I'm
know
okay with.
it's like objectively, but it doesn't matter. Sometimes objectivity doesn't win.
Well,
And that's fine.
it's not even about objectivity, right?
Mhm.
Like I think art is always subjective. It's not
Oh, for
even
sure.
about it's
Yeah.
always subjective, right? Now, some of it is shite. Some of it is. But if you can find a thing like, look, I am sure there's someone out there that enjoys Highlander 2. It's not
Right.
me, but someone out there probably does, right? First off, they're monsters. But second, right? But second, like, there's no accounting for taste or like what is good as an artist. That's always up for grabs, even when it is actually really good. Look, Craven's Last Hunt is probably one of the pinnacle Spider-Man stories.
Mhm.
Somebody out there hates it. Somebody out there absolutely despises it.
Right.
Right? Look at you. Some of JM's, like, objectively speaking, some of JMS's run was actually pretty damn good.
Mhm.
Some of it was terrible. You didn't like any of it. Objectively, subjectively.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, again, and that's fine. That's fine, right? You're entitled to that opinion, and you are the Spider guy. Look, there are books in the Green Lantern run I'm not crazy about. Ben Rabb's run with Kyle is bad. Just bad. Someone likes it. Someone somewhere. Someone likes it. I don't, because I think it's actually it is GL at its piddling shits. Like,
Yeah.
right? It's just like, right. They took everything that made Kyle interesting and they put him in a different scenario, and it was like sigh. Right? You know what I mean? Just sigh.
Right.
But someone liked it. Right? There's always people that like things. There's always people that don't. There are people that like terrible things. I had a buddy. He literally collected. He went to me. I want to collect every bad comic possible. Do you know where I started? So you know what I started him with? Rob
What was
Liefeld's Captain America.
That's a good place to start. Oh,
It actually got
geez.
to the point. It actually got to the point that his early ones weren't good enough to be on the list anymore, right? But like Captain America #1 from Rob Liefeld stayed in. The Adventure Comics Jeff Johns 2-parter with Superboy Prime is atrociously bad. Like it is Jeff Johns at his absolute fucking worst. It is terrible. And to the point that he went to me afterwards, dude, that actually hurt my brain to read. That hurt.
What about Trouble? Mark Miller and the Dodsons with like those weird, like pervy, like teenage covers and stuff. It was supposed to be like a supposed origin story of like May Parker and like all that stuff. And
I see. I've never actually seen it. So that, like, I lived through Red
look
Hulk.
it up. It's so bad.
I lived through Red Hulk. I lived through Countdown. I lived through, like, there are some bad books and I put on the list, and he's like, and some of them are incoherent messes. Some of them, right, are just, and then some of them he goes, you set a pretty high bar on the bad, but that was his thing. He liked the bad shit. Right, that was his thing. Right? Like, my secret dream is one day I will have a table and he will be there and he'll go, "Hey kids, do you want to see my comic collection?" And just traumatize collectors. Just traumatize them. That's my secret dream. Just trauma them. They'll look at that as like, how are those good? They're not. They're terrible. You want me to read one to you? He'll just grab like one at random and just watch them run after like a minute. It's like, I can't get away. Run, or he will read, and we won't be able to run, like, to escape. And then just like break their spirits, like a really cool way. Right. I'm an asshole. I'm sorry. It's true. Right.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. It's just like, but that's just it, right? Art is not good is relative. And I think that's a very important thing. We all have refined taste, I broke Jag, just broke her a little bit with that one. Yeah, right. Yeah, like I would do that to somebody. I really would. There might be a scene in a novel somewhere where someone just is reading very terrible poetry somewhere in the rainbow, just because I have that weird twisted sense of humor, and that's just me. It's like I
Nice.
want you. And I see you like you're for that. It's like I'm in. this is I want to see this card crash.
Yeah,
But
I have a troll side to me for sure. Like, I mean,
yes,
you don't get into punk rock if you don't.
yeah. I wish I was cool enough to know much. Like I know Misfits. I know some of the like the classics bands, but I'm
Yeah,
not. Punk is one genre I'm not very familiar with. So
it's kind of funny too when you say like bad stuff. You know what I mean? Like sometimes punk is like intentionally bad. You know,
yes,
like there's this band I've been listening to lately called Dumb Fucks, and like their songs are so stupid and like almost just like horrifically like offensive, but like they're only like a minute long. The production is terrible, and like but like they're joking too. You know what I mean?
oh
It's almost
yeah,
like one of those things where it's like only somebody smart could make something this dumb. You know,
absolutely.
like
Yes, probably.
yeah, that is their name, Dumb Fucks. So they're not looking to get played on the radio or anything like that.
But it's not about the radio anymore, right? It's about finding your audience, whatever that is. And again, you can be bad on purpose, and it can be a lot of fun to be bad on purpose,
Yeah,
right?
totally. It's
Are
it's,
you
it's
are you
serious.
so are you a wrestling fan at all?
I really am not. I didn't
Okay.
like. I get it. You know what I mean? Like I get it objectively. It's just never been my thing.
No, okay. I'll just tell this real quick and then we'll move on. There was a wrestler named Owen Hart. He was so good in the ring that every once in a while he would just for shits wrestle bad on purpose. Things in right? And so things he would do in wrestling matches, he would actually hit people with bags of popcorn, right? He would all right. He would fall down to like he would do he'd jerk his chops like hi-ya. He would do them
Yeah.
on purpose. He would fall just awkwardly. He wouldn't like they call selling moves. He wouldn't just do like he would be bad on purpose.
I
Right. I
love
think
stuff
my
like
favorite
that.
yeah. There's a match on there by a wrestler named Dude Love, and he's literally beating him with a bag of popcorn while Dude Love's making a popcorn angel in the middle of the ring. It is the funniest thing you'll ever see. Right? It's like and Steve Austin's on the floor, trying not to laugh and failing miserably. Right?
There's
Just
this
miserably.
there's like this local punk rock artist, I guess you could call him. He's just got a backing band, but he's called the Eradicator. And he's I'm from Chicago, so he is too. And it's actually an homage to an old Kids in the Hall sketch about a squash player named the Eradicator that has like a pink polo shirt and like a ski mask. And like they were like, squash sales are down. We need to bring in the Eradicator. And he's like, I am here to save squash or whatever, like the game, with the racket. And so like this guy based his whole band off of this one Kids in the Hall sketch. And I saw him open for the Suicide Machines, and like it was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. And now I love all his records and stuff. But like he comes out on stage with the ski mask on and the pink sweater and a racket, and like just screams like just like all his songs are about squash and playing squash. And like it's just like football sucks, baseball sucks, blah blah blah, squash rules, you know what I mean? Like he even like put the microphone in his mouth and was going and like just screaming into the thing while it was in his throat, like and then like would never shut up about squash in between the songs, and he's wearing a ski mask the whole time. Like this is the kind of stuff that makes me laugh, like
So I'm a metal guy. So like what makes me pop is like metal's like music express themselves in various ways. Like so there's one metal band named Scyther. So their bass player plays barefoot. Like it's just one of those things you just that's like I don't know how you can do that on that stage, but that's what he does.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's cool. That's really, really, really but it goes to show you can have fun being bad on purpose and people will like it because they get the joke. Right.
Exactly.
And comedy is hard. And comedy is really hard.
Right.
So Mr. JT, we've gone for quite a bit tonight already.
Yeah. And I haven't said
fun?
thing one about my comic book.
Yeah, we
should totally cool. I love BSing and all that stuff. It's so awesome.
No, this is called just joshing for this reason. So
I'm having a blast, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no, like I said, like I told you, I don't believe in doing like a cheesy ass buy this thing every 5 minutes because
Right.
you need to remember, right? Or I'm trying to hypnotize you to join my cult, right? Or something like
Exactly.
right. I mean, although if you want to talk about the ultimate troll move, you find like really, really bad elevator music and you do your pitch to the elevator music every time. It will stick in people's memory. You earworm them. Yeah.
I want it to be that specific song from the Blues Brothers that plays when they're in the elevator. That like when the troops are marching outside the building and everything.
So my favorite elevator scene is actually from Devil May Cry Ninja Theory video game. He's in the elevator waiting to get off. He's got demons below him, demons above him. He's fighting. You go out there. It's like hard metal when you're fighting. It's like really cool game. But then this it's just nice, quiet, really, really terrible elevator music. And he's like, "This is hell. This is what hell is." And I'm like, "Yes." It's my favorite. Like my favorite spot in the whole game is right there. It is literally right there every single time. But yeah, we probably should be wrapping this up soon. So you probably should get to pitching your shit. So you're on Kickstarter right now, don't you?
I do. It's got 2 days left. SapphireSpectre.com. That's what Spectre with a R-E at the end. I'm fancy like that. This was the British spelling or something. I don't know, but it's what I've always gone with. No, it's about a girl from Chicago who can like die on command, enter the spirit world as her own ghost, fight evil demons and stuff like that, and come back to her body, and she's alive again. So that's like that's the meat and potatoes of it. But I've got a whole saga going on that's like gonna be pretty cool. And issue 3 is kind of getting back to some dark areas, and it's gonna be cool. She fights a villain called the Violet Void, who has like a lot of her powers, and she's like a almost like her nega duck, as I like to say. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
What's the series? I'm curious.
Yeah. Jag, answer the question. What is the series are you referring to? For those people who are listening, she says this was kind of cool and similar to another book series I've read.
Yeah, so I've been pretty successful so far, like all things considered. Considering I don't really do like nudity in it and stuff like that. Like it's more of a hard PG-13 light R. That's kind of like the I get what would it be?
I love your advertising. It's fantastic. I love it.
That's fun.
No, it's very punk. It's very punk.
Mm-hmm.
I love my favorite part is
blah
blah. Right, yeah, no, she's an asshole. I like exactly. that line right there is amazing.
Because I wrote the first 2 issues like about section, and I just kind of like wrote what I would write, and then I scribbled over it like as if like the villain is like editorializing.
No, it really does look cool. It really does. I dug it. Like the advertising's genius. It's very punk rock. It's very much also you give Violet Void a personality. She's antagonizing like the reader, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm gonna kick her ass.
Exactly.
If you buy this issue, you're gonna watch me kick her ass.
Yeah, and if you watch,
I like that. It's really straightforward, but it's there.
The video is really fun too because I'm actually a video editor 9 to 5, and I've been working in TV for probably 17 years now. So I make sure like the video side of it turns out cool all the time.
So then, do you need a hug, or do you enjoy your TV job?
Oh, I like it a lot.
Yeah. Wait. What do you do? Like,
I'm currently I'm working for a company that works inside TD Ameritrade. So TD Ameritrade, like the broker people have like their own network, like news channel. So I do a lot of the editing for that, and like a lot of the stuff that goes to video on demand, and yeah, and stuff
That's cool.
edits on their TV shows and stuff like that. So yeah, it's not a bad place to be for 9 to 5. And I've been working from home ever since the pandemic started, and there's no chance of going back. So it's really fun being a work at home guy.
No, I just did my first 6-month gig as a video. So I created and produced an immigration show for a company in Canada. But basically, I mean, I had some limitations put on me, but essentially I basically created a show from scratch. It was super fun. And I did a lot of video editing to do it.
Nice.
Nowhere near you, probably, but no, it's just but it was a great learning experience. And I'm hoping to do more video stuff as time goes on. But it sounds to me like you got that nailed down, man. And congrats.
Yeah, I've done a lot of short films and stuff like that too. Entered like the 48-hour film project and actually won for Chicago several times. And I even made like an 8-minute short Sapphire Spectre movie that you can find if you go on YouTube and just type in Sapphire Spectre. It should pop up. It's called The Next Level, and
very cool.
That turned out fun. So like the girl who plays her in that is a friend of mine, Laura Kowalski, and she plays her in like all my Kickstarter videos too. So I kind of have like the character talking to the screen, you know what I mean? Like selling the book as the character, so
so I don't ever have to talk marketing with you. You get your shit down pretty good. Like based on what I've seen, like for your campaign, you've done really well. So
thanks.
Congratulations and good luck with the remainder of the series. So let's do this proper. I think JT, so will you come back some more down the road?
Oh, heck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So whenever, like maybe your next Kickstarter, or maybe it's just because, hey, I'm bored. Let's just talk. Let's just both BS about more shit.
Yeah, exactly. Hit me up. I'm serious.
Yeah. No, it's cool. What we'll do then is we'll do this proper here. So we got the site. Why don't you do this? Is the only part of the show I'm going to ask you to do an elevator pitch. So there's the issue. Bring it out. Tell people this. Tell people where people can find you, and then I'll wrap up the show.
Yeah, you can find me at mostly on Facebook and Instagram. JT Molloy on Facebook, or the Sapphire Spectres on Facebook too, and James T Molloy on Instagram. I'm always posting artwork and joking around and stuff like that. That's all you're gonna get from me is just goofiness and everything I draw for like all my friends' comics and my comics. So yeah,
that's really, really cool, man. So like I said, good luck. I'm almost there. I'm trying to get to my I hit the wrong button. I'm a trained motherfucking professional or something to that effect. Because I am very much, where are we here? Boom, boom, boom. Because I got something too.
Yeah, it's a fun comic. It's very colorful, supernatural. It's funny, but also dark. So yeah.
Yes, that's right. It is all of those things. Give me a second here. Okay, I'll just put it in this way. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will do it for this episode. I want to thank JT Molloy for coming on the show and just BSing with a BSer.
Woo!
But if you are creative out there and you are looking to get your work out there in different places, including my platforms, I have advertising services. I too will make videos. Also, I'll make copy, audio. I'll do audio and I'll do visual stuff as well for you, right? And no problem, Jag. Pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks for sticking around.
Yeah, I will help showcase your project, your books, your companies, and yourselves. So definitely check that out if you are interested in some advertising services. I have a Kickstarter starting next month as well. I'm going to be making this. I actually wrote a short story, and I'm doing my first actual published illustration. It's about a glorious glitter dragon. Magic the Gathering technically does a lot of art alterations. Well, my dragon didn't particularly like it. The glitter set him off, and he wants revenge. And that is one of the stories in On the Stack 2, courtesy of Part-Time Comics.
That's awesome. Keep me posted on that. I'll back it.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely. No, I started advertising it now. But I'm going to be making that a regular thing going forward. So, and that will do it tonight, ladies and gentlemen, on this. Oh, and I got one more thing. My latest magazine article is coming out this weekend. In Calgary, there is a launch for I'm Here With magazine. I wrote a little article about Emmanuelle Vaugier, an actress, and that art in there. It's available now. It'll be available Saturday, so definitely check that out. And that will do it, ladies and gentlemen. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. There will be no podcast Tuesday, but Patty Shales Left Coast returns on Wednesday. I got a couple other cool guests to wrap up the month. I'm getting ready to do some things, so I'm just trying to do those things. So, guys, stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. And I'll see you guys next time.